The day my husband, Leo, was promoted to branch manager, he celebrated by handing me divorce papers. I put my signature on the dotted line without shedding a single tear and walked out, while he and his coworkers laughed about dropping the dead weight. Years later, he managed to track me down through old bank records, but all he found was the echoing silence of unanswered calls and blocked messages. He doesn't see you, Ava. He sees right through you. My mom's words lingered in her kitchen, a bitter scent I couldn't just fan away. Sunday dinner was long over. The dishes were washed and put away. My brother Ben and his wife had left an hour before, but my mom had me trapped with that look in her eye, the one that meant she'd been biting her tongue for far too long. "Mom, that's not— Don't!" She cut me off, her hands twisting a dish towel, her voice strained with a mix of frustration and worry. "Don't you dare defend him to me, Ava. I have watched you make yourself smaller for 8 years while that man just takes and takes, giving nothing in return. He's been studying for this promotion. Once he's manager, things will change? Is that the line he's feeding you?" She let out a short, sad laugh. "Sweetheart, he's already changed. You just haven't realized you're not in his future plans." Her words felt like a physical slap. I wanted to fight back, to list every reason she was wrong. But standing there in her kitchen, the same one where she'd taught me how to bake and warned me about charming boys with empty promises, I was speechless. "He thanked me last week," I managed, my voice barely a whisper. "He said he couldn't have done any of this without me." And what did that thank you cost you? Everything. It cost me my mornings in a windowless office, processing medical claims under the constant buzz of fluorescent lights that gave me a perpetual headache. It cost me my evenings serving expensive wine and food to celebrating couples while I wore down my sensible shoes and choked back my own exhaustion. It cost me my savings, which never seemed to climb above a few $100s. It cost me my own ambitions, which shrank year after year until they were nothing but a faint shadow behind Leo's. "Ben called me yesterday," my mom said, her tone softening. "He's worried about you, too. He says Leo is using you like a found wallet, spending everything inside before he tosses it in a ditch. I should have been furious at them for gossiping about my marriage. Instead, I just felt a profound weariness settle over me. I love him," I whispered. My mom wrapped me in a hug that smelled of her familiar cinnamon soap and the remnants of dinner. "I know you do, honey. But does he love you? Or does he just love what you do for him?" I didn't have an answer. I couldn't answer. That very question had been a heavy weight in my chest for months, getting heavier with each late night he came home, smelling of a cologne I didn't recognize. Each time he bailed on our plans for a networking event I was never invited to. Each time he promised soon, babe soon, while I worked myself to the bone to finance his ascent up the corporate ladder. The drive back to our apartment was a 40-minute journey through quiet post-weekend streets. Every stoplight felt like an eternity, giving my mind too much time to dwell on all the things I'd been avoiding. Like how, at his bank's holiday party, Leo introduced me, not as my wife, but as Ava, who's been very supportive. Or the credit card statements I'd found tucked away in his sock drawer, filled with charges from fancy restaurants I'd never heard of, or the way he'd slam his laptop shut the second I walked into the living room. Our apartment was dark when I arrived. Save for a single light over the kitchen table, Leo was passed out, his head resting on an open textbook for his banking certification. Study guides and manuals were spread around him like a fortress of paper. A collection of coffee mugs had left rings on pages I wouldn't have understood anyway. This was a familiar scene. This was how I found him most nights, driven, ambitious, working toward a shared future, I thought. I set my purse down without a sound and began to collect the mugs. That's when I noticed his laptop screen was still glowing, dimmed, but not asleep. The web browser was open to a site I didn't know he used Pinterest, and a board titled The Next Chapter. My hand trembled as it hovered over the mouse pad. I shouldn't pry. I knew it was wrong. But my mother's question haunted me. Does he love you or what you do for him? I clicked. The screen flooded with images of minimalist bachelor pads, sleek modern furniture, polished concrete floors. Everything was cold, expensive, and a world away from our cozy, cluttered apartment with my grandmother's hand-me-down sofa and his endless piles of books. The captions beneath the images made my stomach clench. A fresh start. Finally, on my own. The manager life. This is what success is. I scrolled through dozens of pins. Each one was a glimpse into a future he was designing without me. Each one was proof that while I was pulling double shifts to keep our heads above water, he was planning his escape. One pin showed a penthouse apartment with panoramic city views. His comment below it read, "Almost there. A new life is waiting. Almost there. 8 years of my life. 8 years of late-night shifts and cheap ramen dinners, of skipped birthdays and canceled plans because he needed to focus. 8 years of being his supportive partner, a title that felt more like a job description than a term of endearment." I gently closed the laptop and looked over at Leo, asleep at the table. In the faint light, he looked almost innocent, like the young bank teller I'd married, the one who promised we would build a beautiful life together. When did we become I? When had I been left behind? As I walked toward the bathroom, a bottle of cologne on the counter caught my eye. It was expensive. A designer brand with a French name I couldn't pronounce. I picked it up. The price tag was still stuck to the bottom. $280. $280. While I was wearing medical scrubs with tiny bleach spots and work shoes I'd repaired with super glue, I twisted off the cap. The scent was woody and sophisticated, nothing like the cheap body spray he'd used for years because we couldn't afford anything better. This was the scent of a man who had already arrived at his destination, a destination I wasn't welcome at. My phone vibrated. A text from Chloe, my best friend since college. Survived the family guilt trip? I stared at the screen, the cologne bottle heavy in one hand, Leo's laptop and his secret Pinterest board of a future without me burning in my mind. My mom says Leo looks through me, not at me. I think she's right. The typing indicator appeared, then vanished, then reappeared. "Ava, we need to have a real talk, not the one where you make excuses for him and I pretend to buy it." I set the cologne down and walked back into the kitchen. Leo was still asleep, his mouth slightly open, a hand resting on his certification book. The very same book I had paid for a few months ago after he claimed it was critical for his promotion. His phone, lying face up on the table, suddenly lit up a notification from someone named Isabel. "Can't wait for Monday. Dinner tonight was incredible. You're going to kill that manager interview. Dinner tonight." The same night he'd told me he was too drained from the week and had to stay home to study. I picked up his phone. No passcode. He never bothered with one because I'd never given him a reason to. I'd never looked, never suspected, never once doubted him. The message thread with Isabel went back for months. It wasn't explicitly sexual, but it was intimate in a way that tightened my chest. Inside jokes I didn't get. Late-night chats I wasn't part of, pictures from bank events he'd never mentioned. One message from a few weeks ago stood out. "Does Ava still not know?" Leo's reply was instant. "No, and she won't. As soon as I get the manager title, I'll take care of it. She won't put up a fight. She's too agreeable for that." Too agreeable to question him, too agreeable to complain, too agreeable to notice I was being used up and prepared for disposal. I placed the phone back on the table exactly as I'd found it. My hands were perfectly steady. My breath was even. But deep inside, something had irrevocably shifted, hardening into a resolve I didn't yet recognize. Leo began to stir, lifting his head. His eyes were bleary. "Hey," he mumbled. "When did you get in?" "Just now." He stretched and yawned. "How was your mom's?" "Fine. It was good." "That's good." He stood up, gathering his study materials, his eyes avoiding mine. I'm heading to bed. Big day tomorrow. Need to do one last review before the interview on Monday, the manager interview? Yeah. He gave me a smile, and its genuineness was what made it all so much worse. This is it, Ava. Everything we've worked for. We. He said we, but I knew he meant I. Everything I had worked for. Everything I had sacrificed. Everything I had given up so he could stand on the finish line and claim the victory as his alone Leo, I said as he turned toward our bedroom. He stopped. Yeah? I almost confronted him right then. I almost told him I knew about the Pinterest board, the cologne, the dinner with Isabel, and his plan to handle me after he got what he wanted. But a deeper instinct took over, one that whispered that silence was a far more powerful weapon. I needed to see this through. I needed to see just how far he would take his betrayal. Nothing, I said. Good luck on Monday. He smiled again, already half asleep, his mind already running through interview questions. Thanks, babe. Couldn't have done it without you. The words that once felt like a loving acknowledgement now sounded like an invoice. He vanished into the bedroom, and I was left standing alone in our kitchen, surrounded by his books, his coffee cups, and all the evidence of the life he was building without me. My mother's question came back to me one last time. Does he love you, or does he love what you do for him? I finally had my answer, and it was going to cost him everything I didn't get any sleep that night. It was impossible. Every time my eyes closed, I saw Leo's Pinterest board. Almost there. A new life is waiting. The phrase looped in my head like a cruel, broken record. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. I wasn't going to have a dramatic confrontation. I wouldn't give him the chance to lie, to gaslight me, or to make more empty promises. I was going to show up to his promotion celebration, put on a smile, and watch just how far he was willing to go. If he was going to discard me, I wanted a front row seat. I wanted to see the man I had spent 8 years building up tear me down with his own 2 hands Leo left early that morning. He gave my forehead a quick, distracted kiss on his way out the door, an automatic gesture that had long lost its meaning. Big day, he said, adjusting his new, expensive tie in the hall mirror. It was one of several I'd paid for, not knowing they were part of a costume for a performance I wasn't meant to see. Good luck, I said, my voice even. He paused at the door, his briefcase in hand. For a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was just pre-interview jitters. Thanks for everything, Ava. Really. I know it's been a long road, but we're finally here. There was that word again, so easy for him to say, so hollow to my ears. The door clicked shut, and I was alone in our apartment, surrounded by the artifacts of his impending success. The certifications on the wall, the expensive desk he'd insisted on, the closet filled with suits I had financed. They were all trophies for a victory I would never get to share. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Leo containing only an address and a time 6 p.m., the bank's downtown event hall. There was no, I can't wait to celebrate with you. No, this is our moment. It was just logistics, as if I were another item on his to-do list. Attend promotion party, bring wife, dispose of her later. I called in sick to my morning shift at the medical billing office. Sandra, my supervisor, would cover for me. She always did then I went shopping. The dress I chose wasn't cheap, but it wasn't from the clearance rack either. It was a simple, fitted navy blue dress, the kind of thing that made you look like you belonged. I charged it to the credit card I'd been secretly monitoring, the one he'd been using to take Isabel out for dinners. Standing in the fitting room, I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. When had I stopped buying things that made me feel good about myself? When had every dollar I earned become a calculation of what we could afford versus what Leo needed? In my car before heading to the party, I practiced smiling. Not my tired, apologetic restaurant smile. Not the strained smile I gave Leo when I had to ask for something, a real smile. the kind that might not reach my eyes but was convincing enough from a distance. The bank's event space was all glass and steel, a monument to corporate success. Silver balloons spelled out, "Congratulations, Leo," against one wall. A champagne fountain bubbled in the corner, and a catering spread that likely cost more than my monthly income was laid out on long tables. I saw some familiar faces from past company events, the ones where I was introduced as Ava, so supportive, and then immediately forgotten. They were all swarming around Leo, laughing at his jokes, raising their glasses to his success. And right there, beside him, was Isabel. She wore a sharp, tailored suit. Her hair was perfect, and she stood just a little too close to him, a hand resting casually on his arm. It was a familiar, intimate touch, the kind born from months of shared secrets and late-night talks about how to handle inconvenient wives. Leo saw me making my way through the crowd. His smile flickered for a split second before he composed himself, shifting into a persona I'd never seen before. It was professional, detached. He looked at me like I was a client. He was about to politely decline. "Ava," he said, not babe. Formal. "Final congratulations," I said, my practiced smile locked in place. "You must be so proud." "We are," Isabel interjected smoothly. "Leo has worked so hard." Leo has worked. Not we've worked. Not Ava and Leo have worked. Just Leo. "He certainly has," I agreed, my voice unwavering. "It must be nice to finally get everything you wanted." A strange expression crossed Leo's face. Was it guilt or relief? I couldn't tell anymore. He reached into his leather briefcase, the one I'd saved up for 3 months to buy him for Christmas, and pulled out a thick manila folder. It looked official. "What's this?" I asked, though a cold part of me already knew. "Your severance package," he said, holding it out to me as if we were closing a business deal. The buzz of conversation around us began to die down as people turned to watch the unfolding drama. This was their evening's entertainment. I opened the folder. Divorce papers. Every line was meticulously filled out, every box checked. My signature line was waiting, blank. He had misspelled my name on the 3rd page, Ava, with an H at the end. After 8 years, he couldn't even spell my name right on the documents ending our marriage. "I don't understand," I said, though I understood everything perfectly. "Manager-level positions require a certain kind of partner," Leo announced, his voice loud enough for his circle of colleagues to hear. As if he were giving a speech. "I needed your help to get here, Ava. You were essential to that part of the process. But now, I need someone who can keep up with where I'm going." Isabel shifted beside him, and I saw it then. The way she looked at him with adoration, the way his body naturally angled toward hers. This wasn't a new development. This had been going on for months, maybe longer, right under my nose, while I worked myself to the bone. "Someone like Isabel?" I asked. Leo had the decency to look momentarily flustered. "This isn't about her. It's about us. We're not compatible anymore. We're in different stages of life. Different stages of life. As if I were an old car he'd finally paid off and was now trading in for a newer model." A woman I didn't know whispered to the man next to her, just loud enough for me to hear. "Finally. He's been so miserable for years. Miserable. While I worked 2 jobs, while I paid every single one of our bills, while I put all my dreams on hold so he could chase his." Leo cleared his throat. "You're dead weight, Ava. I've been carrying you, and I can't do it anymore. Not where I'm headed. Dead weight." The room tilted for a second. It wasn't shock. I knew this was coming. But hearing him say it, out loud, in front of all these people, with Isabel standing right there, her face a mask of faux sympathy. Something inside me didn't shatter. It solidified. It became hard and cold and crystal clear. I looked at the faces around me. Some showed pity, but most looked amused. They were all accomplices in this public humiliation Leo had so carefully orchestrated. This was deliberate. He did this here, in front of everyone, to ensure I wouldn't fight back, to make sure I would be too embarrassed to do anything but crawl away in shame. He'd called me too agreeable in his texts, too nice to cause a scene. He was right about one thing. I was done being nice. I reached into my purse and took out the pen I'd brought with me. My hand was steady as I signed my name on every page, my signature clear and firm. I didn't read a single word. Leo blinked, stunned. What? You're not going to fight you, beg you to stay, make a scene. I placed the signed papers on the gift table next to a bottle of champagne. Why would I do that, Leo? You just told everyone I'm dead weight. Why would I want to be attached to someone who sees me as a burden? The room had gone completely silent. Even the catering staff froze. Congratulations on the promotion, I said, my voice ringing out clearly. And congratulations on being single. I'm sure you and Isabel will be very happy together. At least until she realizes you're the kind of man who uses people up and discards them when they're no longer convenient. Isabel's face turned white. Leo opened his mouth, then closed it. I plucked a couple of shrimp from a passing server's tray. These looked delicious, thanks for the farewell dinner. Then I turned and walked toward the exit, head held high, shoulders back. Every step was measured and calm. Behind me, the room erupted in whispers. I heard Isabel's sharp voice. Did she just? I didn't look back. I didn't give them the satisfaction. I didn't let them see my hands shaking or feel the crushing weight in my chest. Outside, the cool night air hit my face. I realized I'd been holding my breath. Maybe for the last 8 years, I got into my car and drove away, not home. I couldn't go back to that apartment filled with his ambition and my sacrifices. I drove to a grocery store parking lot, sat in my new dress, and ate expensive shrimp, while my marriage officially dissolved in an event hall 2 miles away. My phone buzzed. It was Chloe. How's the party? I looked at the divorce papers on the passenger seat, at my still wet signature, at the empty parking lot stretching out before me. A perfect metaphor for my future empty, but entirely mine. Just signed my own freedom papers, I texted back. Turns out dead weight can walk away on its own. Chloe called me 30 seconds later. What do you mean you signed your freedom? I was still in that grocery store parking lot, my new dress now wrinkled, my mascara probably a mess, eating the last of the shrimp he served me with divorce papers at his promotion party, in front of everyone. Called me dead weight. So I signed them. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, you signed them? Right then and there? Yep. Didn't even read them. Just signed and walked out. Oh my God, Ava. Her voice was a mix of shock and awe. Are you okay? Where are you? King's Market on 5th, eating his party food and figuring out my next move. Your next move? What are you talking about? I looked across town toward the apartment building I could barely afford on my own, but had paid for while Leo chased his dreams. I'm leaving. Tonight. I'm taking what's mine and I'm disappearing. Disappearing where? I don't know yet. But it'll be somewhere he'll never think to look. Chloe was quiet for a second. Do you need me to come help? No, I have to do this by myself. But Chloe, when he calls you, and he will, just tell him I went somewhere far away. Tell him I moved to Antarctica. I don't care. Ava, promise me. She sighed. Okay, I promise. But you have to text me when you get to wherever you're going. I need to know you're safe. I started the car. I will. And Chloe, thanks for not saying, I told you so. Oh, I'm saving that for later, she said, a hint of a smile in her voice. When you're settled and happy and can finally laugh about what a moron he was. I got back to the apartment at 8:30 p.m. Leo wouldn't be home for hours. He'd be out celebrating with his colleagues, probably with Isabel draped on his arm. I had time. The first thing I did was call in sick to both of my jobs for the rest of the week. Sandra at the medical billing office just said, "Take care of yourself, honey." And I wondered if everyone knew but me. Then I started making calls. The joint checking account was first. The account where my paychecks had been deposited for 8 years, while Leo's went into his private investment account that I never had access to, I withdrew my half. Exactly $6,100, earned through shifts that left my feet aching and my back screaming. The bank teller processed the transaction without a word, but her eyes held a flicker of understanding. "I'd like to close the account too," I said. "Both signatures are required for that, ma'am. Then just remove my name from it. Effective immediately." She typed for a moment. "Done." "Anything else?" "Yes. If a Leo Caldwell comes in asking about this transaction, you are not to discuss it with him." Her fingers paused over the keyboard. She looked at me, then gave a single, firm nod. Standard privacy policy. Of course. Next were the utilities. Every single bill was in my name because Leo's credit was a disaster when we first met. I had put my name on everything to build our life together. Now I was systematically tearing it down. Electricity disconnection, scheduled for tomorrow morning. The representative on the phone asked if I was sure. "Completely," I said. "Internet canceled, water service terminated. Even the premium cable package Leo needed to watch his financial news channels was gone. I wanted him to walk into a dark, silent apartment. I wanted him to know what it felt like to have the ground disappear from under him without any warning." My health insurance was next. My plan covered both of us. I called HR, explained I was getting a divorce, and requested Leo's immediate removal. "That normally takes effect at the end of the month," the HR rep said. "Can you make it happen sooner?" I asked. "Divorce is a qualifying life event. I can process his removal as of today. If you have the documentation, I took a picture of the divorce papers Leo had given me and emailed them to her. Sending it now. Received." "Okay. Mr. Caldwell will be removed from your coverage effective today. He'll receive a notification in the mail." "Good. Let him scramble to find his own insurance. Let him feel the panic of having his safety net yanked away by midnight." I was packing. Not everything, just the things that mattered. My grandmother's jewelry box, my mother's set of china, wrapped carefully in newspaper. That's when I found the credit card statement I'd seen before, stuffed deep in his gym bag. I smoothed it out on the table. Hotels, 3 of them in our own city, on nights he'd claimed to be working late, a charge for $1,500 at a jewelry store. I hadn't received any jewelry from him, not for years, but someone had. My hands were steady as I photographed every page, then I kept digging. In his desk, I found receipts for dinners for 2, movie tickets from a weekend he'd supposedly been at a conference. In his sock drawer, hidden beneath a pile of expensive dress socks I'd bought him, I found a birthday card, champagne glasses on the front inside, a woman's handwriting, "To many more nights, like last Tuesday. You make me feel like the luckiest woman alive. Isabel." The party wasn't the beginning. It was just the end of him hiding it. I sat on our bedroom floor, surrounded by months, maybe years of lies, and I didn't cry. Crying would mean I was surprised. Instead, I took pictures of everything, every receipt, every statement, every single piece of evidence. I created a folder on my phone labeled "Just in Case" and backed it all up to the cloud. I didn't know if I'd need it, but I had learned my lesson. Trust nothing Leo said and document everything. By 2 a.m., my little Honda was packed. Clothes, books, the art from my college days that Leo had always called amateurish. Everything that was truly mine fit in my car. I left his things untouched, his suits in the closet, his books on the shelves, his trophies of a success that was never ours. On the kitchen counter, I left a note on the back of a utility bill. Electricity disconnected, internet canceled, water shut off. You wanted to know what dead weight does? It stops carrying you. Good luck with your fresh start. A. I locked the door for the last time and drove north, with no destination in mind, just the open road. At a rest stop just outside of Seattle, I bought a terrible vending machine coffee and spread a road map across the hood of my car as the sky began to lighten Seattle. The name stood out, big enough to get lost in, far enough away that he wouldn't just run into me. I found a payphone and called Chloe. My cell phone had GPS. I wasn't taking any chances. "It's me," I said when she answered, her voice thick with sleep. "Ava, where are you?" "Leo has been calling everyone. Your mom, Ben, me." He sounds frantic. "Good. Tell him I took a job in Alaska or Europe. Tell him I joined a cult. I don't care. As long as it's not where I am, where are you really?" I looked at the mountains in the distance, turning purple with the dawn. Somewhere he'll never find me. And Chloe? He keeps calling. "Tell him to stop. I signed the papers. He got what he wanted. He's saying it was a mistake, that he didn't mean it." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Of course he is. The power's about to be shut off and his comfortable little world is collapsing. Tell him I understand perfectly. For the first time in 8 years, I finally understand everything. By the time I got to Seattle, the sun was up. I found a cheap motel and slept for 4 hours. Then I started looking for apartments online. The studio I found was tiny, but it had a view of the Space Needle, and it was all mine. The landlady, an older woman named Mrs. Kim, met me with a kind smile. "Starting over?" she asked, her eyes gentle as I filled out the paperwork. I just nodded. "First month is half price then," she said. "Everyone deserves a fair shot at a new beginning." That night, I sat on an air mattress, eating takeout and filling out job applications online. My phone buzzed relentlessly with calls from unknown numbers. Leo. I blocked each one. Outside, the city glowed, and for the first time in years, the future felt like it was mine to build. Leo had tried to erase me from his life. Now, I was erasing him from mine, leaving no trace behind. The air mattress sprang a slow leak on my 3rd night in Seattle. I woke up on the hard floor, my back aching, and for a disoriented moment, I had no idea where I was. Then it all came flooding back. Leo, the divorce, the drive north. This tiny studio that was my sanctuary, I got up and made instant coffee. Outside, the Space Needle stood guard against the dark sky, and in that view, I found a strange sense of peace. By 7, I was dressed for interviews. I'd sent out 15 applications, and 3 had already called back. The first 2 were busts, but the 3rd was different. Eleanor Vance ran the billing department for a tech company. She had a bright, organized office filled with photos of her family. She glanced at my resume for less than a minute before setting it aside. "You're overqualified for this position," she said bluntly. My heart sank. "But," she continued, leaning back, "something tells me you're looking for a place where your work is actually respected. Am I wrong?" I opened my mouth to give a polished, professional response, but all that came out was a simple, heartfelt no. Eleanor smiled. "You start Monday. The pay is $65,000, full benefits. Hours are 8 to 5. We take our lunch breaks and nobody is expected to answer emails after 6. Sound good?" I nearly wept with relief. That sounds perfect. My first week on the new job was surreal. My colleagues, Jessica and Thomas, actually invited me to lunch. They asked about my weekend and complimented me when I learned a new system. For the first time in nearly a decade, I felt like a person, not just a means to an end. My work mattered. The coffee shop near my apartment became my Saturday morning spot. That's where I saw a flyer for a women's hiking group. A photo showed 6 women on a mountaintop, laughing, their arms around each other. They looked so happy, so free. "All levels welcome," it read. I'd never hiked. Leo always said it was a waste of time, but something about that picture called to me. I texted the number and got a quick reply from someone named Maria Sunday, 7 a.m. Rattlesnake Ledge. "Bring water. We'll handle the rest." That first hike almost destroyed me. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, I fell behind almost immediately. Maria, a woman who looked to be in her 60s with a calm, steady presence, dropped back to walk with me first time. She asked gently, "Is it that obvious?" "You're doing great," she said. "The mountain isn't going anywhere. Just breathe." At the summit, looking out over the Cascade Mountains as the sun turned the world gold, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in years. The kind that comes from standing on your own 2 feet, in a place your past can't touch. Maria handed me her water bottle. "Whatever you're running from," she said quietly, "it can't follow you up here." And she was right. 2 weeks after I vanished, the messages started. Leo began calling everyone I knew. Chloe sent me screenshots of his frantic voicemails. "Tell Ava we need to talk. This is a mistake. Please just have her call me." "He sounds completely unhinged," Chloe told me over the phone. What should I do? I was sitting in my little studio, watching the Seattle rain, feeling more content than I had in years. "Tell him I took a research job in Europe," I said. "Make it sound permanent." My mom confirmed he'd called her too, crying. The man who had publicly humiliated me was now crying to my mother. "I told him some mistakes can't be unmade," she said, her voice firm. "He had 8 years to treat you right. He doesn't get to cry about it now." For 3 weeks, there was peace. I was settling in, making friends, slowly furnishing my apartment. Then, one day at work, Jessica pulled me aside. "Hey, weird question," she said, her face serious. "Do you know a guy named Leo? My blood ran cold. Why?" She showed me a photo on her phone, a man in a bank uniform at our front desk. "Leo. He came by this morning claiming to be your husband. Said there was a family emergency and he needed to find you. Security sent him away, but he was asking a lot of questions. What floor you worked on, what time you get here." It hit me then. My debit card, I'd been using it at the coffee shop, the grocery store, the Thai place. Leo was a bank manager. He was tracking my transactions. The feeling of violation was overwhelming. It wasn't enough to use me and discard me. Now he was using his power to hunt me down. The next morning, I opened an account at a new bank and transferred every penny. Then I called a lawyer Eleanor had recommended. "Just in case," she'd said. "My ex-husband is using his position as a bank manager to track my spending," I explained to the lawyer, Michelle Reeves. "He showed up at my job. Is that legal?" "No," she said, her voice sharp. "That's a federal offense. Document everything, Ava. We're going to file for a restraining order. What he's doing isn't just creepy, it's criminal. We are going to stop him." I hung up the phone and looked around my tiny apartment, my safe space, my new start. Leo had taken 8 years of my life. He wasn't getting another second. He wanted to find me? Fine. He was about to find out what happens when dead weight starts fighting back. I spent 3 days compiling everything. Every voicemail, every text, the photos of his workplace visit. By Saturday, I was emotionally drained. I went to my favorite coffee shop on Pine Street, hoping to lose myself in a book. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I looked up. A man my age, with kind eyes and glasses fogged from the rain, was standing by my table. "It's all yours," I said. He sat down with a shy smile. His name was Daniel. He was a software engineer, and we ended up talking for 3 hours about books and rain and terrible jobs. He never once asked a probing question about my past. He just listened. Before he left, he hesitated. "Would you maybe want to get dinner sometime?" My first instinct was to say no, to retreat back into my safe, solitary life. Then I thought about Leo calling me dead weight, about 8 years of making myself small. "Yes," I said, "I'd like that." Dating Daniel was like learning a new language. On our first date, when the bill came, we both reached for it. "I asked you out, so I've got this," he said. "Unless you'd rather split it?" The simple question, asking what I wanted, was so foreign to me. On our third date, we went hiking. I twisted my ankle and he didn't sigh with annoyance. He just said, "Looks like we're taking the scenic route back," and helped me down the mountain, telling terrible dad jokes the whole way. At his apartment, as he iced my ankle, I realized I felt completely, utterly safe. Not anxious, not like a burden, just safe. 6 months after I'd arrived in Seattle, I was at the coffee shop when someone sat down across from me without asking. I looked up, expecting Daniel, and froze. It was Leo. He looked awful. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes were red and hollow. "Ava," he said, his voice raw. "I made a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life." I just stared at him, the man who had called me dead weight. He looked so small now. "What do you want, Leo?" "I want to explain," he stammered. The pressure. Isabel. She was in my ear, telling me I needed a different kind of wife, someone more polished, someone who wasn't me, I finished. Someone who wasn't working 2 jobs to pay your bills. She was wrong. I was wrong. He reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. "I need you, Ava. Everything fell apart after you left. The apartment, the bills. I can't do it alone." And there it was, the truth. "You don't need me, Leo," I said, my voice calm and steady. "You need what I did for you. You need an employee, not a wife." I stood up to leave. "Please," he begged, standing too. "Give me another chance. I'm engaged, Leo." The color drained from his face. "You're what?" "Engaged. To a man who sees me as an equal, not a stepping stone." "But the divorce isn't..." "The divorce was final 2 months ago." "You got the paperwork," I said, shouldering my bag. "You got exactly what you wanted that day. Freedom from dead weight. Congratulations. I hope it's everything you dreamed of." I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. That night, I told Daniel everything. "He hired someone to find you," Daniel said, his jaw tight. "That's not remorse, Ava. That's obsession." He was right. And Leo wasn't done. 2 days later, he showed up at my work with a bouquet of expensive roses. "Ava, please," he begged in the lobby in front of my coworkers and clients. "I just need 5 minutes." The humiliation of his promotion party washed over me. He had made my pain a public spectacle for his own convenience. Now he was doing it again. I turned to my boss, Eleanor, and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This man is harassing me. Please call security." "What?" "No. Ava, I'm just trying to talk to you. You hired a PI to track me." "You're stalking me," I said, my voice cold. "This isn't talking. This is harassment." As 2 security guards led him away, he looked at me utterly broken. "I love you," he whispered. "No," I said simply. "You love what I did for you, and that person doesn't exist anymore." That night, with Daniel's support, I called my lawyer. "He violated the restraining order we were about to file," Michelle said, "and we are reporting him to the State Banking Commission. His career is about to be the least of his problems." The fallout was swift. The Banking Commission launched a full investigation. Leo was suspended, then terminated. His professional license was flagged. He would never work in finance again. Isabel, his upgrade, was demoted for her complicity. His career, the thing he had sacrificed everything for, was over. He violated the restraining order by showing up outside my apartment and was arrested. He spent 3 nights in jail before moving back to his hometown in disgrace. I should have felt triumphant, but all I felt was a quiet, profound relief that it was finally, truly over. Daniel proposed on a mountaintop a few months later, surrounded by our friends from the hiking group. He got down on one knee and said, "Ava Harper, you rebuilt your entire life from nothing. I want to spend the rest of mine building something with you." We were married 2 years after I had signed those divorce papers. It was a small, joyful ceremony filled with people who loved us. No ghosts from the past were invited. Every now and then, I'd get an update on Leo through the grapevine. He was working at a small-town credit union. Isabel had divorced him after less than a year, citing financial irresponsibility. He had burned through his savings and ended up living with his parents. He'd gotten his fresh start, and it was a bleak one. One day, Chloe called. "He asked about you again," she said. "He wanted to know if you're happy I looked around the home Daniel and I had built together. A life of equal partnership, of shared laughter and quiet support." "Tell him yes," I said. "Tell him I'm happy in a way he'll never understand. and then tell him to stop asking. I was happy. Not because Leo had failed, but because I had succeeded. I had learned that being called dead weight by someone who was drowning doesn't mean you can't fly. It just means you were carrying the wrong person. The best revenge wasn't watching his life fall apart. The best revenge was building a life so full and beautiful that he became completely irrelevant. A footnote in a story that was no longer about him at all. He had been my world for 8 years. Now he was barely a memory, and that, more than anything, proved I hadn't just survived. I had won the end of the story.